Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello and welcome, everybody. We are back with another episode of Life List. I'm here with both Alvaro Jaramillo and Molly Brown today. My name is George Armistead. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, good. Doing well.
Yeah, we're recording on December 31st, so I think we're all quite ready for 2022.
Oh, are we ever?
Yeah.
Man, sayonara 2021. Don't let the door hit you on the rear end on your way
Yeah. I'm ready for a little festivities a little later on, too, today.
Yeah. Yeah, you going to get a little loose tonight, Al?
Maybe. Maybe.
Nice.
It's always, it's funny, like why we celebrate this one day, kind of randomly because we, sort of it's a change of the calendar seems sort of legitimately silly, but on the other hand, it's actually really, really a major thing to just sort of have a spot in the year where you go, okay, we've done this, let's move on to the new one. And it's especially in this year, you just feel like, okay, moving into a brighter future, positive attitude and all that, even though things are nasty right now, but you can see that little tunnel is getting closer,
Gosh, would sure be nice.
Yeah, I feel the same way this year. I'm not usually thinking about it as, a new start or whatever, but and maybe it's just, pandemic influence on social stuff too, but I kind of like the idea that everybody's thinking the same thing, and I feel a little bit of camaraderie in it. And that feels cool.
Some solidarity, like turn the friggin' page, people. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Burn your calendars from last year. Put them in the shredder.
Absolutely. Nice. Well, Molly Brown, what have you been up to lately?
Well, I've, been stumbling through the holidays, which we've been back from Uganda for a few weeks now, but I feel like I'm still recovering.
Feels like yesterday still, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And we've had such unseasonably warm weather here. Every day I feel like, well, it's actually kind of nice out and the birds are kind of, I'd like to be seeing more ducks and stuff now, and they're not around, but I think, I'll get outside while I can and take advantage of this weather and just move around, hike a little bit. And I've kind of been doing that every day because we keep getting these days that are in the 50s, 60s Fahrenheit. And that's been about it. Hiking and seeing some common winter birds and enjoying that here.
Yeah, similar here. I've been, I think it's much discussed here how I like the crisp, cool weather, and there hasn't been a whole lot of that since I got back. Really, it's been mostly pretty mild, but it's been kind of mild and humid and wet lately. But did get out to the Forsyth Refuge, Brig, as it is known locally, one of the best birding spots on the East Coast, really, if not the country. It's just, there's always tons of birds there. Me and Dad and Kristen took the pup, went down there, did the full wildlife loop, and nothing rare, but, seeing, 4,000 snow geese get up and, make a ton of noise and fly around. I mean, even the dog was impressed. And, it was a lot of sound and a lot of sights. And one of the things I really like actually there is seeing like hundreds of American black ducks. There's actually not that many places you can go, I know of, where you can really see hundreds. That's got to be one of the best places in the country is to see American black ducks. So that was pretty cool.
We had a Mexican duck here. I haven't seen it yet, but I was just thinking your black duck comment. It's like now it's a whole new thing to look for.
Yeah. Not only is there a Mexican duck out by you, Alvaro, but there is a mottled duck in Maryland, the first state record. Pretty nice.
Boy, nothing is going to make people happier than looking for brown ducks that all kind of
monochromatic
look like
mallards.
Yeah, seriously.
Pretty sexy. Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
Sorry to.
These are both news to me. What's the Mexican duck range? Do you get them that far?
No, this is a big deal.
Okay.
This is the first I mean, it's a review species for California now that it is officially a species now again. And to see one this far north is a big deal. But they've had them in Colorado, I think. I want to say Colorado. And I think the more you look, the more people are finding them. But usually it was sort of New Mexico and I think Arizona were sort of the hubs of where most of them showed up, and many of them were hybrid types. It's a complex situation, not only identification wise, but because of this hybridization. But yeah, I was one of those things where I saw that I was like, really? Like shocked that up here,
Yikes.
Yeah.
Ducks are fun. They're not the best looking ones, but they are cool. And I think, I'm trying to remember, but I believe Mexican duck holds the distinction of being the first time that eBird parted ways with the North American Classification Committee on taxonomy. I think that they split Mexican duck before the NAC did, North American Classification Committee. But maybe you're telling me that NAC has come around on Mexican duck?
Yeah, I think it's official by both. Yeah. And I mean, if we're all keen on it, let's also officially have the lifeless accept Mexican duck.
Yeah, you heard it here.
You guys in?
Oh. Yeah.
Can we do maybe an anonymous vote on this?
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain. I'm gonna lump black duck though. Just causing controversy, trying to sell episodes to people. Did you hear what he said? He's going to lump black duck. Why?
For shame.
No, there's no reason to. Everybody just calm down.
Yeah. The other thing that is around here right now, which is hitting my eBird alerts pretty much daily, and I have failed to muster any enthusiasm for it, is that there is a mandarin duck in Philly. And while they are exceptionally beautiful, I think a lot of folks don't realize how they're actually, there's a few of them around. They're not that hard to find if you go looking for them. But, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but there are a lot of people yumming the mandarin duck here in Philadelphia.
That's the duck I've seen on my Facebook feed, is your Philadelphia mandarin duck.
Yep. It's like the photographers are going crazy for it. And you can understand why. They are pretty. They're pretty ostentatious.
Yeah. This is I think it's a cultural shift in birding. We had a Chiloé widgeon here in Santa Cruz area, and people were going to see the Chiloé widgeon, photograph the Chiloé widgeon. They were enjoying the Chiloé widgeon. People started asking me, could this be wild? I said, no, there's no way. This is a wild bird. It's the escapee. But in the past, if it was a non-wild bird, it would have had zero interest from the birding community, sort of the whole, broad sense of the birding community. But today, something that is not a wild bird has appeal to a certain section of the birding community, and that's the complete cultural shift we have. And I don't want to say it's wrong or right or whatever. Just people wanting to see this thing, photograph it, ponder it. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it is odd to me as a long-time birder. It's almost like going to a zoo, right? To see a bird. So I don't know what to say.
This is really interesting, and I think we're going to talk about enjoying owls in a little bit too. And it's the same kind of thing where you just get a totally different or broader group of people. And I don't know, I find this really fascinating. And I'm always tempted to think that, well, people enjoy this and maybe they'll start enjoying all birds, but in becoming birders. And we've talked a little bit about what makes somebody a birder, but I guess it is that people really enjoy birds like this. And this is the kind of stuff that can get on the local news a lot easier. And just there's this, big community interest in something. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. You're right. I think Al, you use the adjective odd, which is kind of the way I feel about it as well. It feels odd. I don't feel
Mhm.
negatively about it, and I think you're totally right, Molly. Like, I mean, look at the Mandarin duck that was in can't remember if it was Brooklyn or it was in New York
Mhm.
last year. Remember the hot duck was like, that thing was making waves, and like hundreds of people showed up to go look at that thing, and that's it's sort of the same thing here with this Mandarin duck at the moment. They're stunning birds, and if you haven't seen them before, or it's been picked up by the local news, and I get lots of texts from non-birding friends like, "Did you hear about the Mandarin duck?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I can show you all my eBird alerts. I've heard. Thank you, folks."
In Japan, if you can go and see mandarin ducks that are wild and so forth, but they're actually really hard to see well. They're in these little ponds, and you got to look through the scope, and it's really interesting to me that with these escapee mandarin ducks are so tame, and you can get to see how amazingly beautiful they are. While in the wild, it's actually a difficult species to see well in most cases. I'm sure there's some spots in Japan and Korea and so forth where you can find them
Mm.
easily and see them up close. But it's yeah. So even when you go and see the wild things, you don't get the look that you can in New York, Philadelphia.
Yeah. Are they skittish?
Yeah, and they're sort of hide. They're kind of like wood ducks. Well, they
Mhm.
are kind of like wood
Mhm.
ducks, but they hide in that sort of dark area in a wooded pond right next to underneath the leaves of. So they're a little bit, yeah, just shy, skittish, and hide in the darkness of the edge of the ponds.
Same genus as wood duck, which I don't know how to pronounce it. AIX.
Yikes!
AIX. Yeah. And
Yikes!
yeah, and while in both species the males are just absolutely stunning, and the females actually are really beautiful as well. But they are it's fascinating to look at a female mandarin duck and a female wood duck and see just how similar they actually appear. You can kind of appreciate the structure of the males and be like, yeah, I see that they're similar, but when you see the females, you're like, oh wow, I see those things are definitely in the same genus. Like I totally see that. They're cool.
And they're not that distantly related from the Muscovy. So the three actually form a group, but
Hmm.
Muscovy doesn't look like them at all, other than the long tail and the arboreal nature that they have.
So here's a trivia question that you have provoked from me, Alvaro, with that
Uh-oh.
statement. And I'm not 100% sure I'm correct about this. So folks can write us and tell me I'm wrong. But my
George loves
understanding,
trivia.
yes, my understanding is that there are only two New World species that have been successfully domesticated.
Of
Any thoughts?
birds?
Yeah,
Or
bird species. Yeah.
okay. Well, Muscovy
Yes.
and domesticated bird
You
species.
might have eaten it on Thanksgiving.
Oh, turkey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are
Yeah,
there
I
any
was I
others you
was
can think of? I don't. I think
guinea
that's it.
pig, but that's not a bird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone told me this, and I've been testing it out so far. It seems to hold up pretty good. I tested it out on the group on Uganda, and people thought I was BSing, but they tend to think I do that anyway. So.
Yeah, I
Right.
just got excited because I was like, "Oh, I know the answer," and I was like, "Wait, I heard this question from you already."
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and with we're ducks and geese. You have two domesticated duck lines, right? One is the mallard duck line, which is most domestic ducks, and then the Muscovy domestication. But geese actually have two separate domestication lines too. One from gray lag and another one from the swan goose, which is kind of wild. You don't think of that one, but that was domesticated completely separately to give you those what they call African goose, which is, I don't know why they're not in Africa, with the big knob
Mm-hmm.
on the those are from the swan goose in Asia. So it's interesting how that all, domestication, why it's successful sometimes and other times it isn't.
Yeah. Well, ducks are fun. We could spend a lot more time talking about ducks and waterfowl. If you ever want to get into some pretty messy breeding biology, boy, there is a rabbit hole you could really go down, and we'll save that for another day. But I did want to mention, guys, that today was the big news, very sad, that at the age of 99, Betty White has passed. The iconic Betty White. As a huge fan of the Golden Girls, me and my sisters were devout watchers of the Golden Girls. I dare say, arguably, the best theme song ever for a television show, like right up there with Hawaii Five-0, Magnum PI, the A-Team. The Golden Girls, I can still sing it word for word. I'll spare you that for now. But man, that is a good theme song and a hell of a cast, and Betty White made that show.
Yeah. She was also on wasn't she on Mary Tyler Moore? That's where I think as a kid probably saw her. Wasn't she on there?
You could be right. I remember her from the Golden Girls and then like various cameos in movies.
I associated with Mary Tyler Moore. She was like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but
you could well be. That was Mary Tyler Moore was like, no offense, Al, a little before my time. Like I watched an episode or two.
Reruns. Reruns. You ever heard of reruns? I mean, I watched all sorts of stuff that was reruns.
I've heard of Rerun on What's Happening Now. He was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, that was. How come that show didn't go more than 2 seasons? Huh?
One of the best shows ever. Yeah.
Molly's looking at us, going, "I've never even heard about Rerun
I'll tell you
or what's happening."
I'm not up on pop culture. I've never watched much TV. I'm slowly catching up on things, but I can't even get away from it on a birding podcast. So go figure.
I was thinking too about the Golden Girls, right? Because I never watched it at all, and there was a period of time where we didn't have a TV, and there's a bunch of time where I'm completely empty in terms of TV knowledge, which is probably not a bad thing. It's actually, fill your brain up with other things rather than, TV trivia.
Yeah, it's never bothered me too much, except for now, for millions of listeners who are going to all be judging me.
They're going to be judging George for watching the Golden Girls. Well, they're going to be judging you, so they're going to be like, "Geez, I thought I liked the show, but the guy watched all of the Golden Girls shows."
Every episode, never missed an episode.
He was a big fan of Greatest American Hero too, which is
that's a good song too. Good one, Al.
Who watched that? I don't know. See.
Well, what I did see on TV, internet TV, Disney Plus TV, was a CGI Saw-whet Owl.
Yes.
That I was so excited to see pop on a screen a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
In the newest Marvel series, yeah. And George, you saw that too?
I was blown away. I was like, that's so cool. There it is.
Yeah. I was so excited. I was like, oh, there it is again. Now look at it. It's doing stuff. It just kept coming back. Oh, so cool.
Yeah, that was in the final episode, right? They're like, of Hawkeye, right? So even a bird reference in the name of Hawkeye. And I think it's not a spoiler to say that this was in the final episode. Well, it was a good time watching me. And the kids here, we enjoy the Marvel series, and it was totally an homage, a tribute to the Saw-whet that showed up at the Christmas tree there in Rockefeller, at the Rockefeller Center there. What was it, last year, the year before? Remember, there was that big story, and they just it was like a little throw in the show, and I was just like, that is perfect. It was so good.
So, not having seen this show or the CGI owl, I'm like, do you actually have to CGI a Saw-whet owl? Can't you just get video of like one just sitting there? Because that's what they do. They just sit there, right?
Well, if it's carrying away the shrunken enemies.
Oh, okay.
That's right. I forgot that it did that. Okay. It was kind of played the hero role too. That's right. I totally forgot that it snatched up a couple of the villains after they'd been shrunk and like flew. And you remember they were like what happens to him now? And then the owl's like zips in and kind of,
Okay, so now I get it.
Yeah.
I know why you have to CGI a Saw-whet owl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
I guess that is a spoiler, but yeah, and one of those things where I don't know, I kind of knew it's hard to judge when you're like in the birding world. What's the public seeing? Because you feel like that's all over the news, just like a mandarin duck. And I guess it really was like the general public knew enough about this for it to get into a TV series. So
Yeah, especially
really
in New
cool.
York. I feel like those
Mhm.
things show New York and they just like, it's like they kind of blow up. But that was a cool one. As birds in film go, there's some real strange ones out there, and some real tough ones to swallow if you're a bird enthusiast. But that one was pretty well placed, I thought.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought some of the bird placement stuff in actually the movie The Big Year were the parts I liked least about that movie. Like if they had done something that was a little bit more legit, even the localities for some of the stuff were like, I mean, I don't even remember exactly what it was, but
well, there was like the pink-footed goose on like the thermal hot springs of like a remote mountain in Minnesota or something. Like none of it really made any sense. It was like,
right.
Yeah. And as I recall, the great gray owl, I think, was someplace that just wouldn't have been.
Right. Exactly. That's, you go to you're making a birding movie, you would think you would get those elements right. Like if it was a movie about skiing, they'd probably be more interested in making the thing make sense, but because still people don't understand birding, they just put in a rare bird in some rare place. That's enough. Oh no, there's more to it. It's not random.
Yeah. There were I always think back like, and this is, I'm dating myself again here, but I remember seeing the Charlie's Angel movies, the first one, with Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz and
dude, I remember seeing the real Charlie's Angels show.
Well,
so
yeah, me too, and I remember that as well. And as an impressionable young boy, let's just say I was impressed. But there was like the movie, and like I remember there's a scene. I think it's on the Golden Gate Bridge, and they have a silver gull come and land on the bridge. It's like kind of at the apex of this high speed car chase, and they have this silver gull. And in the same movie, Cameron Diaz, she figures out where, like, they're trying to rescue Bill Murray from a jail cell, and a troupial comes in, the tropical oriole troupial comes into the typical jail cell with like two little bars, open window. A troupial comes in and starts singing away, and I forget what the song was. I believe it was Not a Troupial. But then Cameron Diaz says, "That's Sitta pygmea, the pygmy nuthatch. Those are only in Carmel." And then they go and rescue Bill Murray. And I'm like, wow, they just like stacked misinformation here, like in such a way that my head kind of exploded. It's pretty impressive.
So, when you said Cameron Diaz, it just brought me back to the Mexican duck. Latin name, scientific name, Anas Diazi.
Diazi, yes.
Name for Cameron Diaz. No.
Yeah, that sounds like a true fact. Yeah.
I know, that's the kind of thing that you could get people to believe. Really? Yeah. Well, I was in Canada too recently. I just came back like hours ago and spent some time with Peter Burke. And one of the things that sort of strikes you, first of all, every time you turn on the radio, your Drake is on and all the Canadian artists. But you go, I got that cell phone song in my head right now.
Nice.
Now, so do a sector of the listening audience right now.
I was going to say, thank you very much, Alvaro. Yeah, that's great.
And you go to the Tim Hortons, and they have those donut holes.
Yeah, those are the best. What do they call them? The
Timbits, right?
Timbits, that's right. Yeah.
So Timbits have a special Timbit right now, a set of them that are designed by Justin Bieber. And they're like called Beaver Bits or something like weird, like something really kind of gross sounding. And you're wondering like, why? Who would have thought this? Because he's Canadian, right? And in any case, I was just thinking about all the weird stuff you see there. And he went on a local fishing boat here, and apparently is into fishing, but not so. We might be able to get Justin, into the birding worlds if he might be, one. And I gather that Geddy Lee from Rush, another Canadian, is a big birder.
Yeah.
So so a little Canadian content there.
Yeah. I heard about Geddy Lee. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, and of course, and I don't want to move too fast here, but we were just talking earlier about how Alvaro, your buddy, Leo DiCaprio, just your good buddy. I know you got him on speed dial. That he just put out on Instagram this Lost Birds project, which is pretty crazy. Like 51.5 million followers. Leonardo DiCaprio, actor and environmentalist, his Instagram account says. And he put out this graphic which has birds like Jordan's courser and Cuban kite and this Madagascar bird that I can't remember what it is, and the South Island kakako from New Zealand. It's got all these like really cool
brushfinch. Is that was it?
Yeah, Vilcabamba. Is that what it was?
Yeah, Vilcabamba.
Yeah, Vilcabamba brushfinch. That's a pretty good looking one too. And this is all about this new search for lost birds, a collaboration between a couple different partners, including the American Bird Conservancy and BirdLife International. And it says with data support from Cornell. And they are looking for birds like Jordan's courser, the dusky tetraca. That was the bird I was trying to remember from Madagascar. And a number of other birds I mentioned, the South Island kakako, seen the North Island one, a pretty awesome bird, makes some really cool sounds. Alvaro, someday you're going to see that Cuban kite. I just know it. I feel confident about that. And then they've got a couple others here, the Negros fruit dove, Santa Marta saberwing, the Vilcabamba brushfinch we mentioned, Himalayan quail, and the Siao scops owl, not to mention the Itwabambe nightjar. And these are all birds mostly that haven't been seen in a long, long time. A couple just in 2010, but like Himalayan quail and Siao scops owl, we're going back to the mid 1800s since they've been seen last. So a pretty cool project. BirdLife International website has got a lot about this lost birds, search for lost birds project. But yeah, Alvaro, we're counting on you to set up a trip to get us all a Cuban kite.
Cuban kite, yeah. And, and rum tasting.
Ooh.
And
Cuban kite and celebration.
Yeah. I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Well, these are all birds that actually could be still around. So the expeditions are going to mount to find them have a potential for success. It's not like going to look for these things where we know they're gone, obviously, or, it's really low chance. But I also think this Leonardo DiCaprio, and hey, if he wants to go birding with any of us, we're up for the challenge to show him something new.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say that he seems to be legitimately interested in the ideas of conservation, and he's the real deal. And it's interesting that we always sort of celebrities have an element of are they real in their what they tell you or what they're doing, or is it's some kind of publicity thing. I think this guy actually is legitimately interested in making the world a better place, which is awesome, I think, because, he's got a voice. How many followers?
51.5 million.
Yeah, it's more than we have, I think.
Yeah, it's a fair few more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind a sliver of that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so, we've given him a shout out so he could give us a shout out back. That's reciprocal kind of thing.
Yeah, seems not unreasonable.
Yeah. Let's all go look for the Cuban kite. What do you say, Molly?
I would love to go look for the Cuban kite.
Yeah.
Cuba's always been high on my list.
Mm.
So
Just
if you're
next
there,
door.
yeah.
Yeah. I had 4 days there. Just kind of did a quick in and out. It was not really a birding trip there. I know, Al, you've been a bunch. That is a place I'd love to get back. I mean, you could just go spend a week in Havana and just have a great time just doing that. You know, forget birding for a little bit. Just such a cool city.
Havana na na na. We'll get that song into people's heads.
I'm happy to say I don't know that one.
Oh my God. First, he didn't know Rockhound. No.
The list of things that I don't know. Pretty long. Yeah. Well, this is good stuff. We thank Leo for shedding a light. And if you want to go birding, just give us a shout. We'll be happy to take him out sometime. One thing I did want to kind of going back to your Saw-whet Owl, Molly. It reminded me that one that was in Times Square, I guess it was. At the big Christmas tree in New York. I think they were taking down the tree, found the Saw-whet Owl, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is the cutest thing alive!" It's like, look at that cute little owl.
Yeah.
And we had something kind of similar happen here in Philadelphia, where somebody sent me a photo. They kind of know us, like, they're like, "Oh, George, you're a bird guy here in Philly. Here's a photo of this little owl that's hanging out downtown." And if you were to pick the most urban part of Philadelphia, this would have been it. There was literally one tree at this intersection. Bars, restaurants, big department stores, skyscrapers. There's no habitat. It's just city. It's just urban. There's one tree, and I forget what kind of tree it was, but maybe 40 feet up, there's this little Saw-whet owl, just got his head tucked in, to his back, sitting there sleeping. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is right downtown. This is actually an opportunity, I think. This thing is happy. I went in there, turned out that there's some security guards that, like, there's a construction zone set up there. And there's big, public transit buses going by, making a ton of noise. And this thing's just sleeping away. And then later, somebody came up with photos of it. It was actually successfully hunting little rodents from the street. And it was just like, it'd sit up on like the wall of one of the stores there. And, it hung out for a couple of days. And I thought, geez, this is an opportunity. Here's this thing right downtown, birders around, but also lots of just people, sort of like what you were talking about, Molly, with the Mandarin duck, Chiloé widgeon. Like, this is an opportunity to put a spotlight on a bird and get them interested. And we kind of wrestled with it as to whether, we should let folks put the word out more widely, and eventually decided this thing's in a safe spot, that it's high enough up in the tree that, there's passersby just standing right underneath it, which, we advised against while we were there. But it was happily sleeping away, comfortable, catching food. And so, we did put the word out, and dozens of people came and saw and enjoyed this thing. And then that night it flew off, and that was it. It wasn't seen again. But in a day, in a time when it's so frowned upon to talk about owls and talk about locations, I thought this was actually an example of, like, they're such inspirational animals that this was actually an opportunity to, like, show people and really maybe get some people kickstarted in birding. So I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting little, instance where I thought it was okay to show an owl. Nowadays, a lot of folks don't like it when you do that.
Yeah, I guess it's, it's a classic. I mean, maybe it's a application of the concept of the tragedy of the commons, right? Like we are all wanting to see these things, and enjoy them, but all it takes is essentially a few people to do something negative towards the owl, and then we all lose,
Mm-hmm.
And when birding was a smaller situation, pastime, not that many people, everybody knew and got info on every single owl that was out there. And you want to see a long-eared owl, that somebody would tell you where they roost, or it was completely open information. And it was a great time to go be able to go and see all this stuff, especially where I grew up in Ontario, where we had a lot of owls in winter. And now it's all frowned upon because it's not going to end up well. I mean, nearly all, not all of the time, but most of the time, it's not going to end up well for the owl. There's all it takes is one person to go and scare the owl or the roost or whatever, and it's done. And it used to be that we all kind of knew that you just wanted to, be able to have that owl roost again next week or whatever. So you just, you kept it the distance. You knew when the owls, you could watch them kind of get a little bit skinnier, and oh, too close or whatever. And also we didn't have good cameras, so you weren't going to get a great picture anyway. Now the people wanting to get that awesome photo, a lot of people just do whatever. And it's a shame, right? Because means that it's harder for us to get all the info. But also, I think I also think there's an element of sometimes there is a power situation in the people who have the information and don't want to give it. And I find that is as a negative situation that's happening too, sort of where I ask myself, how do we get here? And how do we unravel ourselves from this? Because there is a way we could have in the future where we could have information about owls and people behave properly, but we just have to put up a system of some kind, But I always get saddened when I hear about all this kind of stuff, because I grew up in a time when we didn't have this concern, or at least it was minor.
Yeah. There used to be a lot more self-policing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. I would say that pretty much all of my time of being involved in, hearing birding news has been in the latter part of that. But I don't know, Al, I agree with everything you said. It hurts me to see someone use conservation as an excuse for power, which
Right.
you do see. But yeah, I kind of think in circles on this. Like, is this all because of photography? Kinda. Is it social media? And I guess I kind of think it's that as much as photography, because I think about people wanting these like up close experiences with animals, and I'm kind of thinking, like big national parks or those kinds of things where you see people getting stupidly close to something where they can get themselves hurt or hurt the animal or whatever. And like, are people just searching for adventure in nature, and that's how they feel like they're getting an experience? I don't know. And then so I think through this, and it all comes back to me, I guess awareness is the best defense weapon that I can think of. It's tough though.
Yeah.
When I was in Toronto, I decided to get up early and go to my old stomping grounds when I used to go birding as a kid, teenager. And I knew that it's a good snowy owl year, so I thought, I mean, I didn't get any information or anything. If there's snowy owls, I know where they're going to be. It's like I've been there before years ago, and it's been 20 years since I've been to this spot. And sure enough, I found 2 snowy owls. And it was really magical to be, this one snowy owl I was relatively close to it, and it was just sitting there doing his own thing, and there was nobody around. I think because I was in there in the morning, and I had this really great experience photographing it, watching it, and then eventually flew off to scare another owl, like a whiter male, and that is the magical experience. The photographs I got don't don't actually portray the situation of like, I'm here, like skyline of Toronto's behind me, big buildings, there's Arctic owls in front of me. I'm sitting here, kind of cold, and we're just sort of there, and that's the part that I cannot get in a photo. And I think that you get the photo, and for some people, like it's like they're trying to capture that something there, that situation, but you can't capture that situation. That's where your words are what you want to tell people about that situation rather than the picture. And I just wish sometimes people were more interested in the experience rather than what you're taking home, to show your friends, that I mean, there's almost another power thing there too, Molly. I think like you're almost trying to and the way people say capture, instead of a picture, I don't like that. I don't know. It implies to me that it's like you've, I don't know,
taken something.
You've taken something rather than you've been part of something. I don't know. It was a great experience, though. I hadn't seen a snowy owl forever, and they are pretty cool. It's like, so that was cool. But I didn't tell anybody where it was.
Oh, you better not.
I'm sure everybody knows in the Toronto area who's, and they were always in the same places. It's funny. I didn't need to know where they were. I kind of would guess where they could be.
Yeah, you're up there. You're where they live, as they say. Yeah. That's good country for them up there. You just you go to where they live. Yeah, it's kind of the same. I mean, there's a few around here right now, and I still need to try to find one that Kristen can see because she really wants to see that bird, and I'm really, I'd like for her to see it, and so I'm keen to get out into those spots in the coming weeks, hopefully, and have a chance to see them and see them doing their thing. I'll be just happy seeing them sitting there, looking sleepy eyed or turning their head, kind of looking around and, just in their element. Yeah. That's as rewarding as anything.
This reminds me of a little story. I was talking to our friend Peter Burke while I was up in Canada, and Peter was reminding me of this project, the Snowy Owl project, and that they've been tracking them all over the place and finding these owls are out in open water, even in the Arctic, kind of hanging around near open water, and they're hunting ducks, right? That's a lot of eating ducks. And I thought, I remember reading about this a couple of years ago and thinking every time when I was a kid and there'd be a snowy owl roost and you could find the pellets, there were these pellets full of feathers, and there were these gray long feathers of long-tailed ducks. And I was always thinking like, isn't that weird? Like another one of these snowy owls eating ducks is like, I guess there's just not enough rodents for them to be eating right now. Because in my mind, I had like snowy owls eat voles and lemmings, right? That's all they eat. So, and little did I know, like, even though I'd seen like pellet after pellet year after year of them with duck feathers in there, that's what they eat. They're actually eating ducks rather than rodents. And if you are not open to kind of, the data, it's, you are saying, well, that's just wrong. That's obviously an error that the owl did this time, because it should be eating rodents. And now that I know that they eat ducks, I'm like, duh, I should have known that, because
they were giving you every indication they could to tell you that they eat ducks. Yeah.
But can you imagine like middle of the night, because they do a lot of their foraging at night. That's why they're just sitting there in the day. These owls are going out to these sleeping flocks of long-tailed ducks or whatever and grabbing them off the water. That just blows me away. Makes the snowy owl even cooler for me. Yeah.
Apex predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of duck talk today.
Yeah, it's true. I got to say
that time of year.
Yeah, a lot of ducks around at the moment. And I would not want to be a long-tailed duck roosting at night anywhere near where snowy owls are hanging out. That seems like a scary, scary place to be.
Maybe that's why long-tailed ducks are all black and white. They're like zebras. They're trying to blend in, like into some kind of like when the big lion/snowy owl comes over, they don't know what's going on. They're confused.
Disorient the snowy owls.
Yeah.
I would like to see enough long-tailed ducks roosting that they look like zebras.
Yeah.
Come to Lake Ontario. There's hundreds.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Used to
Toronto.
be the I think it was Nantucket Christmas bird count would get like well into 5 figures, long-tailed ducks. Like many thousands.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that before either.
Yeah, I don't think they get those numbers anymore. I don't know if they winter further north now or what, but they don't get quite. I think they still get like hundreds, but not the numbers they used to get. Like, because I remember on the Chesapeake Bay where I grew up birding, we would sometimes in March and April when they were moving, we'd get sometimes 4,000 or 5,000 out on the Chesapeake Bay, which is that's a lot of long-tailed ducks. And I started thinking, geez, I wonder if they see them in greater numbers anywhere else. And then I looked at the Christmas bird count data, and up there, I think 70s and 80s, especially probably into the 90s, they got huge counts, long-tailed ducks, but not so much these days.
Well, Toronto and, Lake Ontario's full of them, and they are in the Toronto, harbor front. You can get 10 feet away from long-tailed ducks. Like they become super tame. So they're foraging just right underneath, where people are walking. So they get used to it. And I was impressed at the fact that you could, photograph these things and practically looking down on them. They're so amazing looking thing,
I have been pretty close to them on the New Jersey coast. The past few years, I've done like a January or February trip over there. I love that. I love just kind of getting, like, I go to Barnegat usually and just sit down on the rocks and wait for like little flocks of purple sandpipers to work their way through and stuff. That's super cool. But yeah, I've seen them like that. But I'm trying to think they're just kind of loosely, working around the banks. But I'm not very far from Toronto. That's probably a trip I should take.
Yeah. And then you get to try the special Timbits.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and listen to Drake all the time.
Oh, God. He's a Toronto Raptors fan. I can't abide him. Huh. Yeah. Well, at the risk of a little self-promotion here, and I don't think I've mentioned on the podcast here yet that me and colleagues Holly Merker and Liam Hart have started a new company called Hillstar Nature. One of our offerings, Molly, is the Jersey coast in winter. And we go for those sea ducks, scoters, long-tailed ducks, red-breasted merganser, harlequin ducks, eiders, common eiders, pretty good numbers in recent years. One of the things I didn't really notice as much until recent years is seeing, these ducks all look so great, right? In winter, a lot of folks know, but a lot of folks don't probably, that ducks pair in the winter. And so that's, while a lot of our birds don't necessarily look at their finest in January, February, March, ducks really do. And that's because that's when they pair. And so you'll see, even right now on Christmas bird counts, you'll see hooded mergansers doing their tremendous displays where they do that crazy pa-wah, like I can't really do it, but that's not an absolutely terrible impression. But, if you ever get to see a displaying hooded merganser, it's pretty tough to beat. But red-breasted mergansers at the Jersey Shore, February, March, even now, I'm sure, they do all these crazy postures, and you hear them a bit too. Maybe it's always that it's been windy. I haven't heard them as well as I've heard hoodies. But they do some amazing posturing while they're courting. Pretty amazing to see. Real spectacle.
That's very cool. Well, you've also got a pelagic coming up, but I'm going to be out of town with one of your colleagues. So
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
too bad on the timing, but
I know. I wanted to get both you and Holly on board. But yeah, we got a pelagic on 15th of January out of Delaware, and another one we're soon to announce. That'll be the 19th of February out of South Jersey, Wildwood Crest, just north of Cape May there. And yeah, we're excited about those. Hopefully, the weather gods will smile on us, and we'll be able to get out there and see some alcids. Obviously, Dovekie is a big target, and then there's other alcids we hope to see. Razorbills and northern gannets are often in pretty good numbers, and sometimes white-winged gulls and other stuff too. So yeah, Alvaro, we need to get you to migrate back east as well and get you on some of these, because I've been on yours, although it's been a long time.
I've never seen a Dovekie in my whole life.
That's right. Yeah, you still need that as a lifer.
2 more alcids to go.
2 more
for the entire family.
Whiskered auklet being the other.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Dovekie. Yeah.
Dovekie's a tricky one.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And see the old white-winged gulls.
Yeah, you saw a bunch of those up north just recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Razorbill. Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good. Can you find? I mean, is it possible to see great skua?
It is possible. Yeah, and that's like it's one of those we almost dare not speak its name. Like back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, I think before the international waters boundaries were redrawn, they used to find them much more often out, following fishing trawlers. They were found much more routinely. In the last 20 years or so, off Hatteras, Brian Pattison's trips have great success finding them. North of there, they're much trickier now than they used to be. So it will be a possibility. But I think in the last, I don't know how many have been seen, say, off New Jersey. I'm not sure any have been seen off Delaware for over a decade. I think New Jersey has 1 or 2, and it's really, it's gotten hard.
For people who are, again, kind of new at this, and you're like, great skua. Okay, what's this thing? So great skua is probably one of the most difficult to see regularly occurring. It's not a vagrant to North America. It's a regularly occurring within the lower 48, but it's offshore, small numbers, never know where. So, I would say it's, what else is there that's so kind of hit and miss? Might be one of the most hit and miss regularly occurring birds in the lower 48.
Right. Apart from things like yellow rail and black rail, which you can hear routinely enough.
Yeah. So you can detect them. You could theoretically put them on an eBird list, right?
Yeah.
Or you would put them on an eBird list, if you heard them. But great skua.
That's a tough one to get on the herd list, the herd only list.
No.
That'd be a really good one.
Yeah.
But, yeah. No, Pattison.
A lifer for me too.
Great skua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonksy.
The Bonksy.
The
Yeah,
Bonksy.
first one I ever saw was a true Bonksy on the Isle of Skye off off Scotland, which is an intensely scenic, beautiful place. And we were by this old castle. I think it was Duntelham Castle, and it was like a storm was rolling in, but there was like a big opening in the sky where you get like, you ever seen it where there's those like shards of light coming through? They sort of like at an angle, but then there's sort of a storm going on. And
there's like just Lord of the Rings.
It was totally a Lord
Star
of the Rings
Wars
type scenario. Yeah. And this Bonksy is just like wheeling around, like, just wreaking hell, it just wreaking havoc on these gulls, chasing them around. I think it was like a lot of common gulls and stuff. I can't really remember, but I just remember being like, man, you don't want to get in that bird's way. That thing looks like hell on wheels. And
that's a Norse name, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, it's not Celtic, or I don't know what.
I don't know, actually. I thought it was like an Old English or Celtic term or something. You might be right.
But do you know what the name for the black guillemot is in those Islands.
Isn't it the Black Guillemot?
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
You don't
No, I
know
don't
this.
think so.
It's the Tisti.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, I think it's Tystie, something like that. That's the local name up in the Scottish Islands. And so it's the Tisti. So the Banksy and the Tisti, and they have, and Fulmar is also another old name like this, but we actually kept that one. Yeah, crazy seabird names.
That's a good one. One of the other ones I like is the word for a first year kittiwake.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
That's a tarrock. Tarr, yeah, Tarrock, I believe is how it's
Tarrock.
spelled.
Wow.
Tarrock kittiwake.
Not like the Tarrock sandpiper. That's different.
No.
My friend Derek showed me the Tarrock while we looked at the Tarrock. No.
You really are a disgrace. My goodness.
There was a birder called Derek who had no could start making limericks.
My goodness.
Who had never seen a Tarrock.
Well, we are coming up on the hour here, guys. I think we did want to mention that we've lost some good folks here and of late. E.O. Wilson just passed. Thomas Lovejoy. I don't know, Al, have you ever had an occasion to meet either of those guys? I'm sure you read E.O. Wilson's stuff at least, if not Lovejoy's.
No. I one of the thing about, I think people know E.O. Wilson more than Thomas Lovejoy, but he was an ecologist working a lot in the Amazon, but he also eventually got into the economics of conservation and the politics of conservation and so forth. And he was the guy that invented the idea of debt for land. So if a country had a debt to the, international bank or, that type of thing, that you could sort of say, we'll swap some of the debt for preserving some of our land, which it's interesting on many levels, in that it preserves land and so forth, and it's a good way to alleviate debt. Now, I don't want to get into the whole thing of the international bank and debts and all this kind of stuff that we put these other countries through, but I think he was a very creative person in figuring out solutions for conservation. I appreciate that that some of the work he did after he'd finished, doing a lot of his academic stuff.
Yeah. Well, it was a rough week. Losing those guys. They had pretty good long runs. And I think, Molly, you had a chance to go birding with Kurt Ron as well, who we lost last week.
Yeah, with him at several different festivals and whatnot. And what do you say about something like that?
Yeah.
There are plenty of people who knew Kurt much better than me. And my experiences were generally at a festival or something, and people are getting together to go birding or making some morning plans, and he would just jump in with anybody, which says a lot about just what a complete ray of sunshine he was. It was just so pleasant to get to have any conversation, go birding or have a drink or anything with him, and certainly one of the good ones.
Yeah, you could tell. I didn't have occasion to go birding with him, but you could tell by the outpouring from a bunch of really good folks that he must have been an ace character, a really good guy. So that was a sad loss. And then we also lost Jerry LaGuari, who I did have occasion to do some birding with over the years, and a real champion of birds of prey, of raptors, writing multiple books, really introduced a lot of people to raptors in a way they'd never seen before, influenced so many. So that was a very painful loss. He had a long battle with ALS and had a tough battle these last few years.
I never met Jerry. Of course, know a lot of his good friends, but the thing that really strikes me as really special is that there are people who were really ranked beginners in the hawk watching world that had that he just sort of took them under his wing, or really taught them, or was really open about getting them more involved or to learn to get a little further on. But on the other hand, he was like beyond everybody at such a level that usually people like that, not usually, but many times people like that don't have time for the rank beginner.
Right. They're not even good teachers necessarily.
They're not right.
Yeah.
But he was. So you have such a loss in that respect, just leader in the field and also fine human being is everything I've heard about him. And I just I'm sad for many reasons for both Jerry and Kurt, but sad that I never got to meet them. So
yeah, good characters, good guys, for sure. Well, thanks everybody for listening today. Happy New Year, and Molly and Al, I'll see you in 2022.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye-bye, everybody.